My name is Eric Jolly, and I am the President and CEO of St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation. Because we're a community foundation, we have the good fortune of partnering with both nonprofits and donors throughout the state of Minnesota. These relationships give us a front row seat to tremendous acts of generosity and impact, of courage, compassion, love. And each day, especially during these challenging times in all corners of our state, from our smallest towns to our largest cities, people are working together to create an equitable, just, and vibrant Minnesota where all communities and people thrive. In this present moment, we'd like to share these stories with you. Joining me today is Shellie. She's a donor-advised fund holder, a volunteer, and someone who really cares to make this community and our nation all the better. I understand that you are busy making masks for your community. Could you tell me a little about that?
I primarily make quilts, so I have lots of fabric. And when people started needing masks, I figured this might be something I could do. And I made a few for a friend and her kids who were about to fly back to Toronto in March. And then the local quilt guild put out a request for some masks to go to home health care workers. So I started making masks, and I made these for my husband and me. And as you can see, each one uses, each end is about 7 inches of elastic, so it's 14 inches per mask. I quickly blew through 12 yards of elastic.
Wow.
And then elastic became expensive, and then it became almost impossible to get. So I started making masks with bias tape ties. So at this point, I've made something like 60 masks, mostly for friends and family, some for the Quilt Guild. But then when people started asking me, could they pay me for the fabric, I said, no. Why don't you make a donation to the local food bank or food shelf instead?
That's wonderful.
Thank you. There are so many people right now who don't have a paycheck, but they all need to eat. And I've seen lines on TV of people waiting for hours in their cars to get boxes of food. So I figured this was a good thing to do.
It's a double gift. That's really nice.
Thank you.
I love that. And so now you found an alternative to the elastic bands. My wife was she does some of the sewing masks too. She does more of the cutting. She was never a quilter. And she uses the loops from pot holder makers.
Oh, sure.
So
That's
that was creative.
That works.
So one of the things that I've noticed is there are pockets all around the nation where people are stepping up, where they are making masks or helping at food shelves. And not everyone is doing so much as you are, but there are a lot of people pitching in. What's it like to be a part of that sort of growing community nationwide?
It feels quite wonderful. At this point, everyone is staying home, and a lot of people really don't know what to do with themselves. This way, I'm doing something productive with my time. And it feels great to know that I'm providing a service for our community.
Tell me, what are some of the causes and organizations that are near and dear to your heart? Obviously, food banks.
Food banks, absolutely. In fact, my husband volunteers repacking food here. They'll bring in 50 pounds of potatoes, and he works with the food bank, and they repackage them into 5-pound bags. But in addition, education. We were very fortunate to be able to send our sons to St. Paul Academy and Summit School, and so we support that school. Both our sons ended up at the same college, so we support that college, and also the universities that my husband and I attended.
Fantastic. Well, you really have a commitment that is about sharing your time and your resources with the places that you care about. Has the COVID pandemic changed anything about the way you give or how you think about giving?
In the past, we have donated money to the food bank, and Bob has on a regular basis gone to repackage the food, as I've mentioned. But now we're giving even more money to the food bank. There are a lot of very hungry people out there. Everybody needs to eat.
It's been pretty remarkable for me to be in the foundation and watching donors like yourself step up. It's been a time when more people have given more generously than ever before. Why do you think it's important to give back to your community?
Well, we all live in a community, and each of us alone can only do so much. But together, we can do much more than we could do individually.
Tell me more about the history of giving. What brought you to the foundation in the first place?
It was kind of accidental. We were talking with our tax accountant who said, you need to do something with your spare money, and this foundation is a good place. They do good things for Minnesota.
Well, Minnesotans do good things for Minnesota. We just get to be the go-between, which is really kind of a wonderful position. You've been working with the foundation for a while now. What are some of the benefits that you find in working through the St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation?
It gives me the opportunity to easily support a number of organizations that I wouldn't necessarily just sit down and write a check to. And it's given me the opportunity to think about how much support I actually want to give to various organizations. One of the things that the foundation's been doing lately that I'm really very excited about, although I don't think I've spoken to anybody at the foundation about, and that's giving nonprofits access to the Catch a Fire group. That allows nonprofits to extend their resources by giving them resources of people all across the country that may or may not be able to provide resources that the individual nonprofit doesn't have.
Oh, I think that's lovely. For people who are just viewing this now, they may not know, Catch a Fire is an online platform that lets millions of people bid to do volunteer work for nonprofits, help them put together materials and annual reports or letters to donors. Some of them manage a web page. And in the last 3 months, since COVID started, the demand from the nonprofit sector for that kind of volunteer service, and much of it in the high-tech area, has really been remarkable. And the use has gone really through the sky. It's just been stunning. It's a remarkable time, and providing people with food, with masks, and with opportunities to be a little more normal and a little less frightened is a really great gift. And I so appreciate your work with us, and especially your work with our community. Thank you so much for joining us and spending time in this present moment. It's been remarkable.
Thank you.